Welcome to Horror Bois. It's a podcast on the internet. My name is Austin, and I'm joined as always by
Chris.
And we are the Horror Bois. And this isn't any old podcast on this old internet. This is a horror movie review podcast, but we're not reviewing horror right now. You get the bit. I'm running out of jokes for it. It's the second to last week I have to do that.
True.
Yeah.
Until eventually we do season 3 of Chucky.
Yeah, I don't know how we're gonna. I think we might. I might. This is all tentative because I probably will end up going, oh, that's too much work. I don't want to do it. We might tentatively try to do it as like a bonus thing every week while it comes out. No promises. But
yeah, because that would be a lot of bonus content.
I mean, kind of. It'd be like 45 minutes of bonus content.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really not that much.
It'd be a little bit more than usual.
Yeah.
Which would be any at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
But hey, it could be a lot.
But it might happen.
Somebody subscribe to our Patreon.
Part of me kind of wants it to maybe happen for the sake of, trying to hit the iron while it's hot and get people to, like, tune in. But then I will do that. I'll do all that extra work, and then they still won't. And then I'll cry myself to sleep that night. But let's talk about Chucky.
Yeah, Chucky.
Today we're talking about Chucky Season 2, Episodes 5 and 6. Let's start with Episode 5, which is called Doll on Doll.
Man.
It is directed by Leslie Liebman. Its writers are Mallory Westfall and Isabella Gutierrez. It is created for TV by Don Mancini. Its producer is David Kirshner, and you know all these names at this point if you've followed our podcast. Our composer is Joseph LaDuca. Our director of photography is Christopher Seuss. Our production designer is John Dontertman. And now here's a point where it is going to change up because you'll see. So our the head of the makeup department is Sid Armor, who's done makeup for Urban Legend, Nightmare Alley, and has been the makeup department head since season 1 of the show. Haven't mentioned her till this point. That's on me. And was also already at that point should have been given credit for being a Horror Boy alum because she also did some makeup on Bride of Chucky. But also in an interview with Sid or Sydney, I don't know, it's Sid. Yeah, it's Sid. I don't know. My brain assumed that it had to be Sydney, but it's not. It's Sid. I found out that Francois Dangenis, who I gave credit for doing the special effects makeup all of last season, still worked on the special effects makeup of this season. So, my bad. For the last 2 episodes, hey, we'll get it right. Those other 2 people still also worked on the special effects, but they weren't the head people. They were just the only people in the special effects under makeup. And I was like, okay, I'll mention these 2 guys. I'm sorry.
Disappointed. To
be fair to me, neither of them were credited at all for season 2. So it's IMDb's fault, but
it is.
Yeah, I'm correcting it here, and next episode I'll give you these names again. But my bad.
Yeah.
Also, we'll move back to the normal things, all the names you know.
There you go.
Our animatronic characters and effects were done by Tony Gardner and Alterian Inc. Our 5 other returning puppeteers are Peter A. Chavaco, Pamela Ivetta, Steve Newbern, Gord Robertson, and Mark Hunter. And as the title may allude, with it being called Doll and Doll, they needed some extra puppeteers for this one because the puppeteers are the ones who work the dolls. So 2 new puppeteers, we have Martin Stelnick and Jennifer Cassidy. So yeah, that's it. That's the pre-notes, which I thought were going to be almost nothing until I watched the interview with, the head of the makeup department. And I was like, oh, okay, she's been here since day 1. I didn't mention her. Which, to be fair, I normally look for, like, special effects makeup person. But then she also, in this interview, talked about how she's also always doing that as well. So I don't understand it. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry.
Nah. We will be better.
Yeah. Well, no, probably not. Let's not make promises we can't keep.
We might be better.
We'll try to maybe think about being better. Let's get into the episode proper. We open with Buff Chucky, which also there's another clarification. Once again, another error we made in the last episode.
Not the Colonel.
Not the Colonel. We will find that out. Spoiler later in this episode. Not the Colonel. Which, to be fair, once again, I blame the way that at least he worded it. Mr. Tony Gardner, in an interview he did with Dead Meat, it sounded like he was saying that this was the Colonel. So, I blame Tony Gardner. And,
Yeah.
That's
kind of sound like it was his fault.
Yeah, no. Yeah, sure. But also, we love you, Tony, and if you ever, somehow found out about our podcast, hi.
Hi, big fans.
Yeah, honestly, your work is really good. I've always liked the special effects in Chucky. Especially once you took over. I'd say it really kind of got gorier then. We open with Buff Chucky showing his knives to Good Chucky. Both / all Chuckies that we may see later are voiced by national treasure Brad Dourif. Buff Chucky explains who each knife is for. Good Chucky doesn't like him talking about his friends like that. Jake and Devin listen outside Father Bryce's office. That's where this scene is happening. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. Jake is played by Zachary Arthur, and Devin is played by Bjorgvin Arneson. Excuse me. Buff Chucky throws knives at the door, almost hitting Jake on the other side. Good Chucky lunges at Buff Chucky, which also here's the thing. For the rest of my notes, whenever he's around, I will call him Buff Chucky, but I will acknowledge that when I once again listen to interviews, it does seem that at least the name on set was Hulk Chucky for Buff Chucky, but I will refer to him as Buff Chucky because that's what's in my notes, and it would just be. I found that out after I had done all my notes, so he will be Buff Chucky, but. A little fun tidbit. They call him Hulk Chucky.
That is a fun tidbit.
Yeah. But yeah, so Good Chucky, he lunges at him. They fight back and forth with Buff Chucky making fun of Good Chucky and saying he's not good. Buff Chucky gets the advantage, and then Good Chucky gets inspiration from a crucifix and kicks Buff Chucky in the nuts, sending him flying back. Not a sentence I ever thought I'd say, but is a true statement nonetheless.
Yeah, it is precisely what happened here.
Good Chucky then throws knives in Buff Chucky's hands, pinning him to the wall in a manner that makes him look crucified. He then throws a third knife in his chest, killing him. Good Chucky pukes at the sight of what he's done, because if you don't remember, Good Chucky was brainwashed, or if you're coming in for this episode. But yeah, or brain bleached, as Lexi called him. Who's Lexi? Well, you'll find out when she's in the episode later.
Oh, who's Lexi?
No, they said you'll find out when we get to her in the episode later.
Oh, okay.
Pay attention. Follow along. Good Chucky opens the door and falls into Jake's arms, asking, "How did I do, coach?" And Jake responds, "You did great, Good Chucky." And Devin sighs at this, because, if you don't remember, Devin does not like Good Chucky. Doesn't think he's good.
No such thing as a Good Chucky.
Yeah. We get our title card made out of stuffed animals this time around. That's it. There's nothing that special. They're just stuffed animals. There's nothing like that stuck out as like, ooh, I gotta mention that. It's just stuffed animals.
Really nothing crazy.
Yeah. Devin, when getting Buff Chucky... Devin, when seeing Buff Chucky crucified, says, "Good Chucky, huh? Look at what he did, Jake. He's a killing machine." Jake says, "Devin, he saved our lives. He saved us from Chucky." Devin exclaims, "He is Chucky. I feel like I don't even know how to talk to you anymore. It's like I don't even know you." Aww.
Yeah.
Jake asks...
It's so sad.
Yeah, so sad. Jake asks, what are you talking about? And Devin replies, Jake, we're supposed to see each other every weekend, and now we're at the Sistine Chapel, as created by everyone's favorite homicidal maniac. He killed Trevor. How long before he kills someone you love? Again. Jake says it was that Chucky who killed Trevor. And that was a different Chucky who killed Gary. Not him. Devin says, Gary's never coming back, Jake. But you still have me. Aww. Actually, I actually think that is a very moment. I actually think there's a little too, how do I put this? A rainbow cult for me. Which, if you don't understand that joke, I am not at all intolerant. I think it's awesome that this show is so gay. I actually think it makes it better. But there was one comment on Shudder that really pissed me off. Yeah. And the guys talked about, when did Chucky go to the rainbow cult? Which, if you're someone who is found this podcast, you probably know that Chucky's been gay. I mean, always, really, because it was created by a gay man and Don Mancini. But, has had gay characters just there since 1998.
Sure.
So, yeah. Get over it if you are someone who cares about the rainbow cult taking over Chucky.
Yeah. Yes. Your child is churlish.
I want our first merch to be like a pride shirt that says rainbow cult on it.
Nah. You want to be a part of the rainbow cult?
Yeah.
Gonna be the Horror Boys fan club. It's the rainbow cult.
I'm okay with that. We're an inclusive podcast, so I'm down. Let's do it. But yeah, I lost my place because it was a little gay, and I wanted to bring up I have to bring up the rainbow cult thing every time because my dad complained about me doing it every podcast. So now I had to do it specifically just to make him mad. Love you, Dad.
That's funny.
Devin says Gary's never coming back, Jake. But you still have me. Yeah, I'm not gonna let Chucky take you to. There is no good Chucky. Good Chucky says, huh? And Jake picks up Good Chucky and leaves the room as Good Chucky says, that was awkward. Which, it was. Devin starts to clean up.
Millennial like there with the. Well, that was awkward.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that happened.
If you want to talk about very modern humor, there's a moment I'll bring it up. I think it's this episode. And that's a weird tease that I'll probably remember to explain.
Probably.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Ooh. Devin starts to clean up Buff Chucky when Father Bryce comes in and says, I find the act of blasphemy deeply disturbing. Father Bryce is played by Devin Sawa. Excuse me. We head to Nadine and Lexi's room, where Nadine is spraying Trevor's dead body with disinfectant cleaning spray or something.
Yeah, probably like a deodorizer.
Yeah. Well, the reason I'm going to go with it's probably some sort of cleaning thing is because she later brings it and calls it poison.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's some sort of like
bleach,
cleaning. Yeah, bleach-based cleaner or something maybe.
Lysol.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Nadine is played by Bella Higginbotham. Lexi is played by Alyssa Allen Lind. Lexi is shaky and sweaty and clutching a bag of pills that Trevor had planted in the room. Nadine asks what they should do about Trevor until she notices Lexi. Sorry. That page had ripped before, so I have to really turn it over. And tells her that she's worried about her. Lexi says, "You're worried about me? There's a corpse in the closet and a killer doll's on the loose. I'm worried about me." Which, you know what? Fair. Honestly.
Yeah. Well, it is very fair.
Nadine goes to comfort her, but Lexi says, "Don't. I'm going to the bathroom. I need to be alone." In the bathroom, Lexi has the pills in her hand, and she's in the bathroom stall. I guess a toilet stall. I wrote bathroom stall, but I guess it's just, she's in a stall. When Nadine comes into the bathroom, not the stall, saying, "If you don't quit while you're ahead, you're going to die." Lexi says, "You don't know what you're talking about." Nadine, "You don't know what you're talking about, Nadine." And Nadine replies, "I do know something about what you're going through, Lexi. I've seen it close up before. Have you ever had a pet that was your bestie? I had 5 gerbils. I got one each birthday. And soon after, I would get home from school, and my mom would tell me they ran away. And each one of those days, I would feel like my world was over. I couldn't figure it out. Why would they leave me? But the 5th gerbil, Houdini, was there when I got back. 4th grade. Mom had left the cage open, and he was scurrying around on the floor. She was passed out, and she wouldn't wake up that time. I don't think she ever wanted me to have any of them at all. But you know how moms are. They do their best to make you happy, right? Can you open the door now?" I'm just going to pause there. Oh.
Yeah.
This is like the second episode in a row, or maybe at least second episode of Us. I think it might, I don't remember. It was not the second episode in a row because there was Death on Denial, which none of these characters were in at all. But like episode 3 and now episode 5, where Nadine gives like a heartfelt speech, and it's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh.
This one was a true and genuine tearjerker. Really, the floodgates almost opened on that one.
I didn't cry, but I could see. I respect it. I mean, it was buddy, Lexi does open the door and hugs Nadine, saying, she's sorry. Nadine says it's going to be okay. Lexi says doing the right thing should be a crime. When Nadine hugs Lexi really tight now, Lexi says, "You know what? You're trying to kill me?" Nadine replies, "I'm not, but about that." And Lexi says, "Yeah, right. Me and those 2 dorks have taken down Chucky before, and we're gonna do it again. You believe me, don't you?" And Nadine says, "Of course I believe in you, Lexi." Which once again, I'm just going to pause again. Just the purity of Nadine. Because Lexi asked, "You believe me?" Which is like, oh yeah, like, you believe what I'm saying. And she doesn't say, yeah. She says, "I believe in you."
In you.
Which, that's a different meaning. And it's just, powerful.
That's good.
Nadine continues, "Mr. Pasta would have a lot to say about this. What a mess." Which, if you don't know, Mr. Pasta was mentioned in, I believe, once again, episode 3? Yeah, that would have been the first appearance of Good Chucky, probably, yeah. Because, once again, last episode was all to do with the Jennifer Tilly side of the story. So, yeah. Which is, it was her cat. Lexi says, "Yeah? What would he say?" And Nadine replies, "Don't be silly, Lexi. Cats can't talk."
Yeah.
Once again.
Classic Nadine.
Classic Nadine.
Right.
Lexi then flushes the pills, and we head to Glenn, waking up from a nightmare known as Seed of Chucky.
Yeah.
I love Seed of Chucky, but, I know that line was funny, so I wrote it anyway. I don't love Seed of Chucky. I am a Seed of Chucky apologist, though.
You are a Seed of Chucky enjoyer.
Yeah.
There's something most people cannot say.
Yeah. There are people out there. We're not the only one. But, I'm not the only one.
You're not the only one. But it is few and far in between.
Don't know what you're talking about. They text Glenda and ask if they had the dream again. Glenda did. Glenda then asks if they killed the security guard. And once again,
I had to.
They did. Yeah.
Okay.
Glenn and I guess not yet. Just Glenn is played by Lachlan Watson. Well, that's it for that. I mean, if you want to know other things Lachlan Watson's been in, head on to the last episode, which I believe was the first appearance of Lachlan Watson.
Well, not last episode, but the third episode.
Yeah. Well, it's the last. No, it was episode. Well, they're like
the episode before Death on an. Oh wait, no.
No, is that they are like the back of their head is shown in episode 2, and then they're not in episode 3 at all. And then the first time I mentioned them and tell you about them was the last episode because it was Death in Denial episode 4.
True.
Glenn goes upstairs and finds Tiffany watching Liar Liar once again, which fun fact. I guess yeah. I guess I'll call it fun fact. That's what I call things. I think it was Jennifer Tilly mentioned that the reason that Liar Liar is played is because it's a Universal movie, and this is made by Universal, so that's how they're able to get the rights to Liar Liar and just show it in multiple scenes this season. Tiffany, by the way, is played by Jennifer Tilly, as I just mentioned, Jennifer Tilly, and is also. If you're also really new, Tiffany is a character that has literally embodying the body of Jennifer Tilly in the world right now.
Yeah. Jennifer is playing a character possessing her own body.
Yeah, you understand. Yeah. That character that is possessing her was already played by Jennifer Tilly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Glenn tells Tiffany, Mom, we need to talk. Tiffany replies, Glenn, there's nothing to say. Excuse me, can you move a little? I'm trying to watch my show. Glenn pauses the movie, upsetting Tiffany, and says, You don't get to play the victim here. You murder people. Tiffany explains, Glenn, it's an addiction. Have a little compassion. I can't help it. I just like to murder people. Is that so bad? Glenn responds. You would think Glenn would say yes, but no. Glenn actually responds, "I don't even know who you are anymore." Tiffany retorts, "And I don't know who the child in front of me is either. The child I know would never betray her mother, their mother. Sorry. Oh, once an episode, I have to screw it up. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, as is dictated by the law.
Pronouns are hard. Okay, I'm trying."
Okay.
Glenn says, "What did you expect me to do? Just act like, what? Oh yeah, that's a comma, but I wrote it as a period, and I was really confused. Just act like you keeping a prisoner you dismembered was normal." I remember what I wrote eventually there. Don't worry, guys.
Yeah, I believe.
Let's just start with who Nika is and what happened. Tiffany replied, "If you must know, Nika's my girlfriend. And sometimes your father." Glenn yells, "Stop lying to me!" Which, to be fair, only half of that was a lie. Nika is in no way her girlfriend. But she is sometimes her father.
Yeah.
Once again, if you don't understand, I don't know why you jumped on this episode of our podcast to learn about Chucky. That's a weird choice. You can stick around, but it's going to probably be a little bit of a bumpy ride. She yells, "Stop lying to me." Tiffany says, "Don't use that tone to me. I may be a murderess, but I'm still your mother."
Your mother. Yeah.
Glenn says, "Okay, Mom, who's Tiffany Valentine?" Tiffany says, "I'm not saying anything until you tell me where Glenda took Nika." No? No? All of a sudden you have nothing to say? All right, I'm out of here. Enjoy the show, sweet face. And she leaves. Glenn is crying. We head back to Nadine and Lexi, who, in their room, see the closet door is ajar. The music gets really tense as they slowly work their way over. They open it, and they find nothing.
Yeah.
Which actually is still surprising, because not even Trevor's body, because it's now missing. It should be in there, and there's literally nothing there. I mean, they're still like their clothes, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Nadine says maybe it's a miracle. And we head to Jake and Devin's room, where Jake is cleaning up Good Chucky. He asks Good Chucky, what did it feel like when you killed him? Good Chucky responds, like, I finally knew what I was for. Jake looks a little unsettled by this.
Yeah.
Answer, yeah. But he puts a band-aid on Good Chucky's cut, saying, there you go. All better, boy wonder. And Good Chucky responds, holy hematoma, Batman. The Joker got me good. Jake has a flashback back to Gary dressed as Robin. Yeah, that's it. I thought he had the flashback. That's it.
Yeah.
Also, I want to point out that we clearly see that he has a cut on his hand, but he says holy hematoma, Batman, and a hematoma is not a cut. So,
no.
A little confusing. Should have been holy laceration, Batman, but, you know, whatever. Why are we going to use fancy medical words but not use the right ones?
Yeah. For reasons.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Nadine and Lexi join Jake. Lexi tells Jake that Trevor's gone. Nadine asks what happened to Good Chucky. Jake explains that he was saving us from this other Chucky that was stalking the halls. Nadine says to Good Chucky, my sweet baby, that mean man isn't going to hurt you ever again. Jake asks if they've seen Devin, and Lexi replies, no, but we don't know how many Chuckies are out there. What if one found Devin? Jake says, no, he's fine. He's just being dramatic and punishing me. Lexi says, I know you guys are going through a rough patch, but you love each other. Will you please stop fighting then? Aww. I think they should fight. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody out there wish they would.
Yeah. We've got actual things to fight against. Jake says, yeah. Who would take Trevor's body, though? Nadine suggests, an ally? And Good Chucky says, or an enemy. They all look very concerned at this.
Man, all looks a valid point.
Yeah. We head to Father Bryce, who takes Devin to the chapel, where he says, I've tried so hard, Devin, with you and your friends. I've given you the benefit of the doubt time and again, but clearly your particular band of wickedness, brand of wickedness, not band. They're not in a. They're your particular band of wickedness. It's the devil's music, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
Your particular brand of wickedness is going to need a firmer hand to be corrected. Devin replies, you're absolutely right, Father. How could I possibly convince a believer of supernatural evil? It must just be a series of violent, elaborate pranks pulled by some traumatized teenagers. But you know, yeah, that's a really fair little retort there.
It is.
But Father Bryce does not feel the same way, and he hands him a Bible and tells him to read Leviticus and leaves. We head to Dr. Mixter, telling Father Bryce, I have asked you repeatedly not to interrupt me when I am in session with the students. My time here is precious. Father Bryce responds, this couldn't wait. Sister Ruth says, sin never waits, does it, Father? Sister Catherine mocks her, sin never waits, does it? Dr. Mixter is played by Rosemary Dunsmore. Sister Ruth is played by Laura Jean Churostecki. Sister Catherine is played by Andrea Carter. They all arrive in Father Bryce's office and see crucified Buff Chucky. Father Bryce asks, who should we blame for this? Please tell me. Sister Catherine? No spark tongue today? How convenient. Dr. Mixter, what about you? Weren't you the one that recommended these violent kids be admitted here in the first place? And where have you been during their reign of terror throughout these hallways? This sick abandon of everything holy. What God is trying to tell them. What I, Dr. Mixter, am trying to help them see. Do you not take any responsibility? Sister Ruth tries to start talking, but Father Bryce continues. As always, no, not continue. He continues. As always, I have stepped in and done what you are too weak to do. That's why Devin is currently reading the Bible in the chapel by himself, and that's where he will remain until Sister Catherine cuts him off. Father Bryce, is that really necessary? Maybe these kids need someone to talk to. I mean, are you punishing him for blasphemy or for the creative prowess? Which, Sister Ruth then says, why not both? Which, not fair, honestly. I don't know if I'd call this creative prowess when you're crucifying a doll on the wall of basically the principal of the school. It's a little weird. Yeah. I don't know if I'd call it creative. It's a little weird, Sister Catherine, that you're pointing out the creativeness of this.
Oh, that's strange.
You might need like a good shot in the arm of reality at some point, Yeah. Moving on. Sister Catherine says, because curiosity isn't a sin. Challenging the institution that guides you should be encouraged, not rejected. Father Bryce says, Sister Catherine, not everything is a challenge. Doxter, which is Dr. Mixter if you say it really fast.
Dr. Mitter.
Doctor, please help me out here. He's also Southern now. Dr. Mixter says, actually, I do agree with Father Bryce. This is a display of violence and casual pageantry, and it crosses the line. Sister Catherine says, spare me. If you're feeling a lack of control at the student body, maybe it's because you're lacking it, Father. Devin is a traumatized kid. Father Bryce, pointing at Chucky, says, this isn't trauma. This is evil. Sister Ruth says, evil. Father Bryce says, Sister Ruth, please. Sister Catherine says, I did not become a sister to validate or answer to your fits of self-righteousness. This is not an inquisition. Father Bryce says, that's exactly what it is. An inquisition by me. Sister Catherine says, those medieval relics look good in this office. Maybe next time we can burn a kid at the stake. She then leaves. Once again, she's calling that art and then now suggesting they burn kids at the stake. What is wrong with this woman? Oh, that was sarcasm this time.
Yeah, that was sarcasm for those who might not have caught that.
Oh.
Pretty subtle.
I didn't catch it. Are you sure?
I'm positive about that.
Sister Ruth seems drawn to Chucky. Father Bryce says to Dr. Mixter, Devin has exhausted his options here in Incarnate Lord. Maybe they can straighten him out in a youth facility. Dr. Mixter says, I disagree with you. I think I can still help him. Father Bryce says, I hope you're right. Before telling Sister Ruth to get rid of that abomination, she takes him away and throws him away in the trash can. We head to Devin, who, after flipping to Leviticus 18:22, he starts angrily ripping out pages of the Bible. If you don't know what that Leviticus 18:22 is, it's like I'm trying to remember the
man
exact.
Shall not lie with another man.
Man like he lies with a woman.
Yeah.
Which, as surprisingly, the gay character is very upset by that. I can't figure out why. Oh, wait, no, I can.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Because he doesn't respect the Bible.
Hey.
Yeah. Before throwing it at the cross on the pulpit. We head to the Tilly house, where Tiffany and Glenn are joined by Meg Tilly in the living room. Meg Tilly is played by Meg Tilly.
Mm-hmm.
Tiffany asks Meg if she's enjoyed the party, or if she enjoyed, not if she's enjoyed. That implies that it's like still going.
Yeah, no, it is finished. But it ended in the episode before.
Yeah. Meg replies, "It was certainly dramatic," and then says, "I hope Glenda comes back soon. Don't you, Glenn?" Tiffany says, "Yes. Where did the sibling get off to? It's so seldom we see the two of you apart. You know, once I caught them trying to board a plane to England alone. They are such a bonded pair. They certainly can be a handful." Meg replies, "So could we when we were younger. You remember that time in high school when we snuck out to meet with the Dean brothers?" Tiffany says, "Yes." You can tell that she doesn't remember because, you know, it's Tiffany, not Jennifer Tilly. Meg continues, "Aww. What were their names? Chandler and Ram?" Tiffany stammers before saying, "It was so long ago. It was almost like we were different people." We then get some shots of Seed of Chucky reminding us that Tiffany took over Tilly's body and therefore is literally not the same person.
Different people.
Yeah. Tiffany asks, "So how long are you planning to stay?" Meg says, "As long as it takes." Tiffany says, "Oh dear," stammers, and then continues, "If you'll excuse me for a minute, I just, I'll be right back." We follow Tiffany to a locked room where she has a Tiffany doll, I guess we'll call it, because it's, you know, the wedding bell doll, but it's been done up to look like Tiffany in Bride of Chucky. And it's in a cage, doing bills. Tiffany takes a check that has, "Help me, I'm a prisoner in my own house," written on it. Yeah, so Tiffany...
Very formal and official signature.
Yeah, so Tiffany rips it up saying, "Nice try, Jennifer." What? That's right. I'll say it here, you know, because I don't know when it exactly, but yeah, it's Jennifer Tilly is trapped in the doll. Which, fun fact, Don Mancini had kind of always wanted to maybe do this. That's why specifically in Seed of Chucky, after she says the Ade Due Dumbala spell, she then says, and switch, which implies that maybe they switch. Not just that she took over the body.
Switch?
Yeah. It had the same, you know, Latin, but, you know, the switching was different. Or French. I think it's actually French. I don't know.
Typically that would be French.
Yeah. But yeah, so Don Mancini thought about maybe doing this way back then, and that's why he broke the line that way. At least that's what he's saying now, which, you know, fair to him, and I can't prove otherwise. So yeah, after she rips it up, she says, "Nice try, Jennifer. Now you're just going to have to write it again." And Jennifer Tilly doll, which I'll just start calling Jennifer going forward, says, "But I'm starving. You promised me chocolate." Tiffany replies, "Chocolate?" before noticing a photo of Jennifer on the wall, and says, "Oh, I love that portrait of me. I look so beautiful." Jennifer says, "That's me. I look beautiful." Tiffany says, "Anyhow, there's something even more important that I need from you." Jennifer says, "Tiffany, what more could I possibly give you? For years I've made you money playing online poker and voicing Bonnie and Family Guy."
The fun little inclusion.
"I pay the bills and answer all my own fan mail. And for what? Just a little bit of chocolate. That's all I ask." Tiffany pulls out her nail file and, points it at her, in a threatening manner, and says, "Shut up with the exposition, Jennifer. I need answers about you." "Why, you ask?" Jennifer says, "Actually, I didn't." Tiffany continues, "I'm about to embark on my greatest acting challenge yet. I need to convince your sister Meg that I'm you." "Jennifer Tilly." Jennifer says, "Meg is here?" And Tiffany asks, "Now tell me about the Dean brothers." And we head back to, well, I guess not, yeah, we head to Devin, joining the gang in his and Jake's room. Lexi tells him Trevor's missing. Devin says, "What?" And Nadine says, "Either he crossed over into Narnia or someone took him. Fingers crossed for Narnia, but I'm pretty sure that it's not a real place."
Wait.
I mean, I can't confirm nor deny.
I have a whole book about all of them.
All whole book?
Yeah. Well, it's a collection of all of them.
Oh, okay. Because there's 11 books in that franchise.
Yeah, no, there is a lot.
And they're not written in the order that they're supposed to be read in. It's very confusing.
Yeah, it sucks. I haven't read a single one all the way through.
I have read the original and The Magician's Nephew, which is the prequel. I have read those two, and that's it. And I've seen the first movie of 3, and that's it.
Yeah, I can't really blame you on that one.
No, it's whatever. I get it. It's a religious allegory. It's cool. I'm fine with it, but I'm fine. I get it. Aslan's Jesus. Cool. Let's move on. Next. All right.
That's been the Narnia podcast, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I get it. Aslan's Jesus. Cool. Let's move on.
Yeah, okay. I gotta find my place again. I wasn't planning on talking about Narnia for more than just literally reading it. Lexi says he wasn't in the closet when we came back from the bathroom. Jake says, "Wait, maybe someone was cleaning up for the other Chucky, like the bad one." And Devin says, "Well, the good Chucky was texting somebody named the Colonel. Maybe they're the ones that took Trevor. We should look through this again, see if we missed anything." And he plugs the phone in to charge. Good Chucky says, "I sure hope you find Trevor. I just feel so bad. Who would do something like that?" And Devin says, "Are you kidding me? You would do something like that. You killed my mom. You killed her dad." Good Chucky says, "What?" Devin continues, "You're basically responsible for killing Jake's whole family. But not his mom, so you're wrong, Devin, actually. His mom died of cancer."
Yeah, cancer got her.
Unless Chucky gave her cancer. We'll get back to you on that one.
Crazy.
But for some reason, he doesn't seem to care about any of that. Jake says, because that wasn't his fault. That was a different Chucky. He's not like that anymore. Good Chucky says, I have to go, and runs out. Jake follows him. In the bathroom, Chucky asks, "Did I really do those things?" Jake says, "Oh, no, that was a different you." Good Chucky says, "Like that other me? The big guy?" Jake says, "Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of you. But you're all different." Good Chucky asks, "Where did we come from?" Jake says, "Well, it all started with this guy named Charles. He actually lived here a long time ago, when he was a kid. And well, when he grew up, he split his soul into all of you. And that's why you're alive." Good Chucky asks, "Was he a good person?" Jake sighs. Good Chucky continues, "If I came from someone bad, that means that I'm bad too. That means I could hurt you. I shouldn't be around anyone. Jake says, no, I want you here. Good Chucky asks, why? And Jake says, because you're good. Look. Sorry, good. I was at the wrong point. Sorry. Good. Look, I know you're good. Good Chucky says, but what if there's still evil inside me too? Jake says, wait, you know what? Look, I have an idea, but we're gonna need some help. What? He has an idea? We head to Lexi asking Devin, so you and Jake? Devin says, yeah, not great. Lexi says, understatement of the century.
Yeah.
Devin asks, I mean, do you get this whole good Chucky thing? Because I don't. Lexi says, every time I look at him, I see Junior's face. Devin says, I just feel like he doesn't hear me sometimes, you know? Or he won't. Lexi says, Chucky screws everything up. She definitely says screws and not a different word.
Not one of 10 designated other words.
Oh, what? What? Good Chucky says, what? Devin says, maybe. I mean, yeah, but even when we all thought Chucky was dead, Jake... I mean, none of us saw each other. Ever. Maybe Chucky's not the only problem. Lexi says, I mean, I wanted to talk to you guys every single day. Everything just felt so hard. Devin says, I just don't want Jake to get himself killed. Or us. He's lost touch with reality. Lexi says, so what do you want to do about it? The Chucky phone. Trademark, the Chucky phone. We're going to, sell the Chucky phone. Is charged, so they check the photos. Devin notices that there's Chucky body parts in the background of some pictures. Devin says, I think they're breadcrumbs. Like Hansel and Gretel. Like he's leaving a trail for himself to find his way back home. We have to get out there. Maybe this trail will lead to more dolls. Or the Colonel. If they don't see us coming, maybe we can take them out for good. Lexi asks, should we tell Jake? Well, right now we're going to head to him. So we head to Jake and Nadine, who, in a cute and humorous scene, baptized good Chucky and become his godparents. Chucky sings Thank You, Jake at the end, and we pan over to reveal Devin and Lexi looking on in disgust. Devin says, come on, we're out. We're on our own. Not out. We're on our own, and they leave.
Bum.
Yeah. We head to Sister Ruth's office, where Buff Chucky rises to life out of the trash can. Buff Chucky says, I am risen. Sister Ruth says, you're risen indeed, Lord. Which, if you don't remember, she thought that she saw the face of the Lord in Chucky. So now she thinks he's, rising from the dead.
Yeah. She's not the brightest.
What?
With gold in the chib.
Buff Chucky adds, and it didn't even take me 3 days. Which, to be fair, it actually didn't take Jesus 3 days either. It was like 1.5 if we actually want to go off the semantics of it. Just being real, I mean. Sister Ruth says, I knew it. I knew it was you. How can I serve thee, Lord? And we head to the Tilly home, where Tiffany tells Meg, sit down, and says, when you were talking about the Dean brothers earlier, it really brought back some memories, Meg says. Such as? Tiffany continues. Yes, like, remember when they wanted to raise money for the orphanage, but that they grew up in, so they got the whole band back together, and then the cops were after them for their unpaid parking tickets. But they still managed to play the Palace Hotel ballroom. And then they got thrown in jail, but they still managed to save the orphanage. Meg says, Jennifer, that's the plot of the Blues Brothers.
Yeah, it sure is. And it's hilarious that she so earnestly just goes for it.
Tiffany then replies, shut up. It's not. Meg says, yes, it is. Tiffany says, no, it's not. Meg says, yes, it is. And this is that moment I teased earlier, because this right here, those like back and forth dialogue, those last two, no, it's not, is a TikTok sound that got pretty famous. And I've definitely saw it on Instagram Reels, because I don't have a TikTok, but I see TikToks get reposted, and I heard this sound so many times, didn't even realize it was from Chucky. Because I had just heard it so much. And when I got to this point of the scene, I was like, oh, that's where that came from. But yeah. Yeah. So for the Gen Z listeners that we don't have, you recognize this little line?
Yeah.
For those millennials who have TikTok for some reason, you recognize this line?
Oh, there's so many millennials that have TikToks.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I stand by my statement. For those millennials that have TikTok for some reason.
Valid.
But also, most of our audience is like Gen X, so for some reason, old people like us. Moving on.
Yeah. Because we're watching all our favorite shows and movies.
I mean, yeah, fair. Well, we're not, though. We're not Gen X, and we still both like these horror movies, so, I mean, I don't know. Where are the young horror fans? I know they're out there. I see them on Instagram and stuff. Where are they? Why aren't they listening to my podcast? Tiffany says, that bad woman. Meg says, excuse me? Tiffany says, I have to go, and leaves. Glenn gets up and starts to follow her. Tiffany tells Jennifer, you tricked me, you little troll. Jennifer says, I don't know what you're talking about. Tiffany says, you're a disgusting little smarty pants, aren't you? Tiffany continues to berate Jennifer as Glenn comes in, followed closely by Meg. Glenn says, Mom, what the obscenity? Tiffany says, it's not what it looks like. Jennifer tells Meg, it's me, Jennifer, in here. I'm in here. Glenn says, it's not it's not what looks like. What is going on here? Jennifer continues to beg Meg for help. It seems to be working. It looks like he might be getting through to Meg. But Tiffany pulls out her nail file and slits Meg's throat and then repeatedly stabs her and hacks at her throat. As like we see it like mostly through shadows, but we also see a lot of blood. It's a cool scene. Little psycho nod, which we do, I believe, when she walks in the room, see the poster for Chucky Goes Psycho, which does still exist in this world, which makes those Bride of Chucky lines from the last couple episodes even more confusing. But we'll move on. I'm not gonna get into the weeds about that. But what the heck?
About that?
But what the heck? Tiffany repeats, I'm sorry, over and over. Jennifer asks Tiffany, what have you done? She was my sister. Glenn asks, who are you? And Tiffany says, my name is Tiffany Valentine, and I'm your mother. And we head to Lexi and Devin in the forest, following the breadcrumbs. Back to Jennifer yelling at Tiffany that she's a monster. Tiffany tells Glenn, I know how this all must sound. Take your time, sweet face. Jennifer says, I'll kill you. I'll bleeping kill you. I normally would just drop off, the bleeping, but she repeats, I'll kill you twice, and I feel like it didn't have the same rising in importance without adding something,
There.
You maniac. You bad woman.
Yeah.
I really hate you. Then repeats, I hate you. Over and over again. Tiffany tells Glenn, if you'll excuse me for just one minute. Turns to Jennifer and continues, I am trying to have an important conversation with my child. If you don't shut up, I will lock you down here to starve. Do you understand me? No more chocolate. And she covers the cage with a sheet like it's like a bird that won't stop talking.
Yeah.
Which it is like a big bird cage, but she literally is treating her like a bird because she covers the cage to get her to stop chirping. Yeah. Tiffany rejoins Glenn. Glenn says, you lied to us. Our whole lives. Tiffany says, well, yes, but it's complicated. I never meant to hurt you and Glenda. I just wanted to give you everything. Tiffany Valentine is a loser, but Jennifer Tilly is a beautiful, beautiful movie star. I wanted you to be proud of me, but I see now that it was a mistake. I was never good at being Jennifer Tilly, and I wasn't that good of a mom either. I'm sorry. I was trying to be somebody that I wasn't. And I did the same thing to you kids also. Glenn asks, what do you mean? And Tiffany says, I have one last birthday present for you. And gives Glenn a familiar-sized chest. It's not a box this time.
No boxes.
Yeah, it's a chest. With the Glenda doll in it. Tiffany says, that belongs to you. Glenn says, it's me. What about Glenda? Tiffany says, it's for them too. Yeah. If you want to say the line, you could have let me know like in advance, like we didn't speak over each other. Normally, I read the line, read my script. I didn't know you even had a copy of the script.
I got the script.
How? Did you sneak into my house again?
Yeah.
We've been talking. We'll talk about this.
I know the code to your house. I can get it.
Well, I'm gonna have to change that. Yeah, it's for them too. Glenn says, I need to show this to them. Tiffany says, let's go get them. Tiffany then burns down the house, and her, Glenn, and Jennifer drive off with the Glenda doll as well. They drive off. Back to Lexi and Devin, who find a bunch of Chucky heads on pikes. They look into a cabin, and an alive and caveman looking, also maybe Jesus looking, that's what they referred, Dom Mancini referred to him looking like. Andy's still alive! Yay! Yay!
I know it.
But, maybe he wishes he wasn't, because he's being tortured by Bald Chucky from Season 2, Episode 1, now known as the Colonel, as well as Dr. Mixter is there.
Bum, bum, bum.
And she calls Chucky Charlie! What?
Who's that?
Yeah. Andy Barclay is played by Alex Vincent. And, that episode took like an hour, so let's get right to the next episode. Jeez.
Yeah.
Chucky Season 2, Episode 6. Here's Resident D.
The episode's over.
Yeah. This episode is written by Alex Delisle and Kim Garland. All other crew are the same as last episode, including the director. It's normally I say like the director and the writers, but the director was the same person, so there's no point. It's Leslie Liebman. There you go. I said it anyway.
I'm not gonna say it, though.
I won't say it. But her name is Leslie Liebman. Now I've said it twice, more than I normally would. Did you know that Leslie Liebman directed this episode?
Huh?
It's the same director as the episode known as Doll on Doll. I know, mind-blowing information.
That is really.
We start back at the crash from Season 2, Episode 1, as Chucky's drag Andy away from the truck before it explodes. The Chuckies they're dragging him away are being led by the Colonel, who I guess maybe his voice got hurt in the crash because he's already got his new voice, because he does have a little bit different voice, which I believe it's still Brad Dourif, but he's doing a Marlon Brando impression from Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, that is exactly what it felt like. And there's more references to
there is, yeah. That's what he's going for. But like that is exactly what he is going for. Marlon Brando literally plays a Colonel something. I've never seen the movie, but he's Colonel something. So yeah. Back in the present, Chucky is torturing Andy, cutting off pieces of his flesh. Dr. Mixter asks, "What happens when there's nothing left?" The Colonel replies, "Then I will cut deeper." By the way, Devin and Lexi are still outside, so Devin says, "They've been torturing him for a year?" Back inside, Dr. Mixer tells the Colonel, "Tiffany has let Chucky Prime escape. They're on their way here now." The Colonel says, "Chucky Prime? That's absurd."
There's nothing Prime about?
Dr. Mixer says, "He was the first." The Colonel says, "Then he got sloppy. First he gets trapped inside of Nika Pierce, then he lets Tiffany chew him up and spit him out. There's nothing Prime about him. He's low-grade meat. All fat." Ooh. Sorry, Andy. That's a rather tender subject for you, isn't it? Andy passes out as the Colonel removes a piece of Andy meat and starts to cook it. Why the heck not? Why would you just cook some Andy meat?
A little bit of casual cannibalism.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a doll, technically, so I don't know what it is.
He was a person at one point.
That's fair. The Colonel asks, "So what happened to Tiffany?" Dr. Mixed replies, "Your infatuation with that woman has always mystified me." The Colonel says, "I am merely infatuated with the thought of her demise." Back outside, Devin says, "That lady always freaked me out." Lexi says, "Seriously, my mom should get her money back for all those therapy sessions." Yeah. Gotta throw a little quick comedy in there and go back inside now. The Colonel asks, "What about my men?" Dr. Mixter replies, "Your brawny assassin," we know him as Buff Chucky, or Hulk Chucky, is dead. And the scout is unaccounted for. That's good, Chucky, if you're having trouble following along, audience. The Colonel says, "And those kids are still breathing." Dr. Mixer says, "Let me do it. Let me kill them for you." And the Colonel says, "No, I won't deny myself that pleasure any longer. Life's too short." Carpe diem. He doesn't say that, but, he's at that point in his life, This is midlife crisis, Chucky.
Well, actually, it's the Colonel.
Well, he's still Chucky. I mean, he is still a Chucky. I will call him the Colonel whenever he says a line to distinguish him from other Chuckies, but he is still a Chucky. Dr. Mixter says, "But Christ said that to deny oneself is the beginning of life. Don't you see, Charlie? All your self-indulgence has been so risky." The Colonel starts to eat the Andy meat. She continues, "Every dead Chucky brings you one step closer to extinction." The Colonel says, "I don't have to answer to you. I'm not 8 years old. I'm not 8-year-old Charlie anymore, and you're no longer my therapist. They were weak. I was strong. I am all the Chucky anybody ever needs. Now take me to the school and let me finish this." Dr. Mister, apparently is what I'm calling her now, asks, "What about Andy?" The Colonel says, "Let's save him for dessert. We'll be back soon, Andy. If you get hungry while we're gone, may I recommend your leg? It's delicious." It's kind of creepy. Yeah. Ew. Dr. Mixter takes the Colonel and leaves. Devin and Lexi come in, and Devin unties Andy's arm, and Andy grabs him. Lexi says, hey, we're just trying to help." Andy lets go, and Lexi and Devin finish untying Andy, who lunges at Devin and falls to the floor. Devin says, "It's me, Devin, don't you remember? We met in Hackensack." Devin helps Andy up off the ground. Devin continues. At Charles Lee Ray's old house. Before it blew up. Andy says, Kyle. Devin says, yeah. Andy starts to sob. Devin says, what?
Huh?
I just don't, still, I'm supposed to, maybe it's supposed to be hey? It looks like a he, I don't know, maybe I'm supposed to write he. Yeah. Devin says, hey, we're going to get you out of here, okay? Lexi says, we're going to take you to a safe place. A different place with a shower. Andy grabs Devin's shirt and says, where is he? Devin says, Chucky's gone. Mixter's taking him back to the school. Andy says, take me there. And then we head to our title card, which this time around is made up of...
all Chucky heads.
I mean, I wrote it as heads of the Colonel, but yeah, sure, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bunch of the Colonel.
Yeah. We head to Sister Ruth's office, where she tells Buff Chucky that the communion wafers that he's eating aren't actually for snacking. Buff Chucky says, careful, or you'll end up like Father O'Malley in the confessional. Sister Ruth says, forgive me, Lord, for questioning your works. But why did you send Father O'Malley to his maker? Buff Chucky says, I needed to get a quick workout, and flexes. He then asks her if her hair is different. She asks, do you like it? And he says, you should be a blonde. Which is a reference to Chucky Season 1. Because, fun fact, Tiffany Valentine used to be a redhead, and he told her to dye her hair blonde.
True.
She takes off his shoes and says, I humble myself before you. And she washes his feet. He says, you sure do. She adds, anything you wish, simply ask and it shall be done. He says, I like your style, Sister Act. She says, Sister Ruth? He says, before looking out the window to see Dr. Mixter and the Colonel arrive. The Colonel says, I almost try to do the voice, and I don't want to. I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing it. Part of me wants to just do the Colonel voice, but I'm not going to do it, guys. He talks too much in this episode.
He does talk a lot.
I'll regret it if I start it, so I won't start it.
Don't even get him started.
Yeah. The Colonel says, you told me that Neanderthal was dead. Dr. Mixter says, he was. But Charlie, you do have a talent for resurrection. Good Chucky waves from a different window. The Colonel says, traitors. Add them both to my list. Dr. Mixter says, please remember, you have to make the kids' deaths look like accidents. Or a word that I can't say, meaning to make yourself no longer alive.
Yeah.
Thanks, YouTube algorithm, for not understanding context. The Colonel says, I can work with that. We head to the chapel, where Jake and Nadine talk about how Devin and Lexi didn't come back last night. Father Bryce announces to all the students that due to several students not following the rules, especially the cardinal rule of no students leaving the campus without permission, so he has no choice but to lock down the entire school. He sends every student to their room until further notice. Jerry, in the hall, tells Jake, you're not going to get away with this. Trevor wouldn't run away. He's not that stupid. Your psycho friends have have him somewhere, don't they? She also goes in the middle of her line. But they kept it in for some reason. Weird take. Weird choice. I normally, really love the Chucky series. It was a really weird choice. Jake says, I don't know what you're talking about. Jerry says, what have you done to Trevor, you freak? Dr. Mixter says, one more word out of you Miss Delgado, I'll have no choice but to recommend a transfer to juvie where you belong. Now go to your room. Jerry is played by Danielle Ivy Chambers. Jake asks her, "Where'd you get that?" Talking about the kernel that she's holding currently. She replies, "That's none of your business, Mr. Wheeler." Jake tries to grab the kernel, but is stopped by Father Bryce, who says, "Mr. Wheeler, get upstairs now." Jake says to Dr. Mixter, "You know, don't you? You know what he is." Father Bryce says, "I said now." Jake leaves. Excuse me. Father Bryce says, "Dr. Mixter, I don't know if bringing those kids here was the best idea you've ever had." She replies, "Trust me, it was. You'll see." Father Bryce asks, "Where did you get that?" "I told Sister Ruth to throw that abomination away." Dr. Mixter says, "I find it's of value in my session. I use it to symbolize my patient's trauma." Father Bryce says, "Okay, but what happened to his hair?" She says, "I can't share that with you. Doctor-patient privilege." Father Bryce asks, "It doesn't scare the children?" She replies, "Only those who already have evil in their hearts. If you will excuse me," and she leaves. We head to Father Bryce locking the students in their rooms. It's a quick shot, I think Nadine, why am I blanking on the main character's name? Jake and also Jerry into their rooms. Forgot Jake's name, only the character that's been in all episodes but one of the series.
I understand.
So Father Bryce locks them in. Sister Catherine says, "Father, please, think about what you're doing." As her, that's what I wanted to say there. As her and Father Bryce head downstairs, Sister Catherine continues, "This isn't a prison. Is this even legal?" Father Bryce responds, "The state of New Jersey and the Archdiocese of Camden have granted me full authority to discipline these kids as I see fit." Sister Catherine asks, "What do you think this will accomplish?" Father Bryce says, "It clearly states in Proverbs, 'Whoever spares the rod hates their children, but the one that leaves their children..." What? The one that loves... That makes sense. Alright. "The one that loves their children are careful to discipline them." Sister Catherine says, "So you're saying I hate these children? That's insulting and absurd." Father Bryce says, "I'm simply quoting scripture." Sister Catherine says, "There's nothing simple about it." At this point, they're downstairs, and Lexi and Devin come inside with Andy. Father Bryce says, "Welcome back." Sister Catherine says, "Who is this?" Devin says, "He's the reason we came back." Lexi says, "You taught us about Christian charity, and when we met him, I thought to myself, what would Sister Catherine do? It was clear what needed to be done." Andy says, "I hope I'm not getting them into trouble." "They've been very kind to me." Father Bryce asks, "How can we help you, sir?" Andy answers, "Well, this last year's been really rough. Just when I'd thought I'd given up hope, these two angels found me. They told me about your church. They were sure you'd show me some kindness. I could really use a shower and a hot meal." Lexi adds, "and a toothbrush." Andy continues, "I won't be any trouble, I promise." Sister Catherine says, They did the right thing. The church is always here for people in need. Father Bryce says, Sister, we don't know this man. The school is on lockdown, and I find it wholly inappropriate to bring a stranger right now into our midst. Which, honestly, kind of a fair point from Father Bryce. But Sister Catherine responds, contribute to the needs of God's people and welcome strangers into your home. Romans 12:13. Or does the word of God only count when it's coming from your mouth, Father? Which also, cool comeback.
Hey.
Yeah, good comeback, yeah. Father Bryce says, I don't think that applies to this circumstance. Also fair.
Yeah, okay.
Sister Catherine asks, why not? Isn't it commanded in the Bible? She turns to Andy and asks, what is your name, sir? He responds, and she takes him to get cleaned up. Father Bryce tells Devin and Lexi to both head straight to their respective rooms. No shenanigans. They run into Dr. Mixter in the hall, who says, look who's back. You know, leaving campus violates your court order. I could have you thrown out of here if I wanted to. But that's not what I want, nor what he wants. He wants you here, where he can get you. Lexi asks, so how does it feel being a redheaded doll's little bit? Honestly, I don't know how to change this in this context to a different word, so we're just going to move on. Dr. Mixter says, word of advice, do not mention hair to the colonel. Devin says, you're going to pay for what you did to Andy. Dr. Mixter asks, who would believe you? He's going to kill each and every one of you, and I am absolutely going to watch. Alexi and Devin head upstairs. We transition to Glenda killing Joan in seat of Chucky. Glenda wakes up and texts Glenn about the dream. Glenda is also played by Lachlan Watson. Glenn says that they did have the dream, and then sends pictures of the Glenda doll to Glenda, saying, Mom's birthday gift to us. And then Glenda heads to the other room of the hotel, even though it kind of looks like a motel, but yeah, somehow has like two rooms. It's like a really nice motel.
Yeah.
It's like the motel suite, which I didn't know motels had suites.
I don't think they do.
Yeah. And over there is Nika and Kyle are sitting watching the news at like the little table. Nika is played by national treasure Fiona Dourif, and Kyle is played by Christine Elise. Glenda asks Kyle if the gun is really necessary, and Kyle responds, well, he's still inside her, and you're still his kid, so yeah, it's necessary.
Which is totally fair.
Yeah. And then she turns to Nika. Now, can you tell us what's going to happen when we get there? Nika says, Chucky just said there will be somebody there who will help set us both free. Kyle says, and we're just supposed to take his word for it? Nika says, he wants out just as much as I do. Or sorry, just as much I want. He wants out as much as I want him out. Trust me. Kyle asks, how do you talk to him in there? Nika says, it's kind of hard to explain. And Kyle asks, does he ever mention Andy? Nika shakes her head and asks, you think he's still alive? And Kyle says, I know he is. They never found his body. That's why I went to LA in the first place. I thought maybe your mother or your maniac mother took him.
It's fair.
Yeah, fair enough, you know. Also, you know, we gotta respect Kyle. She understands how horror movies work. If you don't see the body, they're still alive. Just like how we all assumed she was alive because her body was never found. Never confirmed.
Yeah, I understood.
Yeah. Lost my place. Nika says, I really hope you find him. They really have taken almost everything from us, haven't they? Kyle says, almost, showing one of her ears is fake because of the explosion she was in. She continues.
Maybe. And it said, and possibly her hair. We're not really sure.
Yeah, that might be why. Yeah, because there's a joke about her hair later, so that might be why her hair is a little different since she's been back.
Yeah.
She continues. This is, I believe this is Kyle talking. Listen, I really hate to ask this of you, but, Nika says, what? You want to talk to him, don't you? Kyle says, sorry. Nika says, yeah. Kyle asks, you ready? Nika says, no, but do it. Kyle cuts her hand, bringing Chucky to the driver's seat of Nika. Kyle points a gun at Chucky. Chucky says, Glenda! And then turns to Kyle and says, oh, you're still alive? Kyle says, surprise. And that's all she says. Just the word surprise. No obscenities at all.
No. I would.
Yeah.
That'd be silly.
Chucky says, but the whole house exploded. You're telling me not one person died in the explosion? Kyle says, shut up and listen. We're going to be in Jersey tonight, and I'll help you and Nika go your separate ways, but you have to tell me where Andy is. Chucky says, oh, Andy Barkley? I killed him. He cried like a little baby when I cut out his tongue. Like this. As Chucky mimics the described action. Then starts laughing. Kyle doesn't believe Chucky. Chucky tells Glenda, Poopface, I'm sick of looking at this bad woman.
Yeah,
already?
definitely.
Kill her for me, will ya? Glenda says she has the gun. Chucky knocks the gun out of Kyle's hand into Glenda's and says, oh, there you go, Poopface. Glenda points the gun at Kyle. Chucky says, do it. Glenda, do it. Glenda tells Kyle.
Do.
Yeah, no, she doesn't. They don't. Dang it!
You're good there.
Glenda tells Kyle to turn him back. Chucky says, What are you kidding me? It's not like you haven't done it before. Glenda says, would you turn him back? Kyle hits Chucky, bringing Nika back to the driver's seat. Nika asks, does it have to be that hard? They then hear on the news about Jennifer, Glenn, and Glenda are wanted by the cops for the connections to the multiple homicides from the last step, from 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
Last episode of our podcast, but 2 episodes. It was from Death on the Knot. And I guess also the last episode, because Meg Tilly. Both deaths. Meg Tilly and Joe Pantaleone. Or I believe it's... I don't remember. Joey Pants.
Yeah, I think it's Pantaleone.
Yeah. I lost my place. So yeah, they find out about that, including that, Glenn and Glenda are wanted by the cops for the connection. So Nika says, looks like we're both fugitives now. And we head to Jake and Devin's room, where Jake says, so they were eating him? And Devin says, yep, something I never get to unsee. Jake says, man, I can't believe you and Lexi just went out there, alone at night? Devin says, and now we have this Colonel Butthole, definitely says butthole, to deal with.
Definitely always says.
He's bad, Jake. Maybe the worst we've seen yet, Jake says. I mean, we've taken care of Chucky's before, but now we have Mixter to deal with. And she could just call us in for therapy whenever she wants. Devin says, it's dark. super, super dark. Jake says, then maybe we need to get light. Devin says, Jake, if this is some light of the Lord post-baptism crap you're on, I'm really not in the mood. Jake says, wait, no, I mean light, like as nimble, agile, ready for anything. Whatever battle this colonel has brewing, we need to have it on our own terms. Devin says, and what terms would those be? Jake says, home court advantage. Devin says, I'm sorry, you're referring to this horror show as home? Yeah, fair. Jake says, well, I mean, this room is our turf. We can control what happens here. Devin says, have Chucky come to us. When have I heard this before? Which, if you want to know where he heard it before, it was right before his mom died, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's why he's not okay. Oh.
It's all coming together.
Jake says, well, I mean, not just come to us. No, to all of us. Look, all of us in one room, ready. Look, you, me, Lexi, Nadine, and Good Chucky. Good Chucky is drawing a picture of him and Nadine that says, best friends forever. So sweet. Devin says, you really, really want this Good Chucky thing to work out. Jake says, well, I mean, it already has worked for us. Devin, I mean, you saw what he did to the other Chucky. Devin says, he is good at killing other Chuckies. Jake says, hey, it was brave, what you and Lexi did. They then hold hands. Aww. It's what someone in the rainbow cult would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, they hold hands, and then I think Good Chucky, I gotta find my place, but I know what happens. Good Chucky throws his pen at a fly and nails it right into the wall. It's pretty cool looking, pretty impressive, but he doesn't puke.
Bum bum.
But I can't find my place.
Bum bum. The only thing more terrifying than being murdered, losing your place in the podcast.
Yeah, there it is. Jake swats away the fly first. Good Chucky throws it. Yep, okay. Devin says, you didn't... Devin specifically says, you didn't throw up. Good Chucky replies, the night is young. We get a quick shot of either the Colonel or Buff Chucky. We don't know. Probably the Colonel. Looking as Andy gets his wounds cleaned by Sister Catherine. And with the way he looks so Jesus-like, it definitely feels like there's some Jesus imagery of him getting cleaned there. Because he's got definitely that Jesus hair and beard here.
Yeah.
After she leaves, Andy arms himself with surgical scissors. We head to Father Bryce's office, where Sister Ruth comes in to talk to Father Bryce. She tries to show him that Buff Chucky is alive after rising from the dead. She explains that he is our Lord and Savior. He asks her to pray with him, so this frenzy or fever will be taken from her onto him, and with the Lord's blessing, it will be gone. She says, our Lord is sitting right there. It is no fever. Father Bryce tells her to go to her room for this, because, they're on lockdown and everyone's supposed to be in the room, and especially double for her because of this heresy.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
This is a little bit nutty
but
behavior.
Not to Sister Ruth, because she tells him to stop dismissing her. This is real. He has risen. He tells her again to go to her room, and she takes Buff Chucky and leaves. We head to the library, which is the first time I've ever been there, but we're there now. Or maybe not. I guess the library might be where Sister Catherine's class is normally held, her art class. This might be the same set for that.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. But yeah, they're there, and Buff, Chucky, and the Colonel are standing at opposite ends on a table. Buff Chucky says, "Nice seeing you out and about, Baldy." How rude.
Oh, he mentioned his hair.
What's the occasion? Wig sale? He's doubling down! Oh gosh!
Oh, dear Lord of mercy.
He laughs and takes a bite of a communion wafer. The Colonel says, "Stand down, soldier. You think that because you put on a little muscle, you can defy me?" Buff Chucky replies, "That's exactly what I think." The Colonel says, "Be careful. Thinking isn't your strong suit." Buff Chucky says, "All right, cue ball. Time to get this over with." And he eats another communion wafer. It could be the same one, but he finishes it. He pops one in his mouth. The Colonel says, "Correction, soldier. It's already over." And Buff Chucky starts to choke. The Colonel continues, "Arsenic, special family recipe," which is a reference to episode 4, Death on the Nile, where Glenda uses arsenic to kill Jeeves. And then the Colonel continues, "Mind over muscle every time. General George S. Patton said, 'It is foolish to mourn those that have died. Rather, we should thank God that such men existed.'" Buff Chucky falls over dead. Sorry, I had an itch on my nose. The Colonel says, "So, thank you, God, because that was the funniest thing I've seen all year." I don't think that's what George S. Patton meant.
I don't think it was that.
We head to Jake and Devin's room, where Lexi and Nadine are sneaking in the window. Devin says, "Impressive." Lexi says, "Please, I didn't do poop." Nadine practically carried me the whole way up. Nadine, I just, because like almost the same spot on the line was the Nadine practically and the next line where Nadine starts talking, so I almost started reading Nadine practically. I'm just going to be in a loop forever. Nadine says, "Krav Maga really is a total body workout." Jake says, "Glad you guys could make it." Nadine asks, "So what's the latest intel?" And Devin says, "According to Andy, the Colonel's the last doll standing. Well, the last evil one, anyway." Nadine says, "Well, that's kind of good news, right? Weren't there a lot of bad Chuckies?" Lexi says, "There were. Out in the woods." Nadine says, "But," Devin says, "the Colonel went ape poop." That's definitely the phrase people use. "I mean, he killed all the other Chuckies. His own men. He's vicious. And now..." What? And now there was like a random just dot in the middle of this 2 words that made me think it was like, oh, okay, sorry. "He's vicious, and now he's gonna come for us." Lexi heads over to push the desk in front of the door. Jake says, "Wait, Lexi, what are you doing? It's 5 against 2. Lexi says, "I'm not following." Devin says, 6, actually. Andy's coming." Lexi says, "Yeah, he seems super reliable," and starts trying to push the desk again. Jake says, "Don't you want this to be over?" Lexi says, "Yes, Jake, I very much want this to be over, which is why I want to barricade the door." Jake says, "This is how we win. Look, when he comes through the door, we'll be here and we'll be more ready than we've ever been." Jake asks Nadine, "Do you have the stuff?" Nadine replies, "Boy, do I ever." "Okay, we can stab, poison, bludgeon, concuss, and for my sweet baby boy, we've got good old-fashioned hand-to-hand combat, so you can be just like me." Good Chucky says, "Oh, wow." Now I'm explaining, because that was a very visual scene. For stabbing, I have no idea what she pulls out.
Yeah. I think it was like an EpiPen.
Maybe
Is what
that
it
could
looked
be.
like.
That could definitely. I could not tell. I had no idea.
I was like, I don't know what else that could
Yeah,
be,
I like
but
that.
why
Well,
would you pick a EpiPen for
if that's
stabbing?
all they had, I mean, if that's literally all she had.
I guess.
Next, we have poison, which is the cleaner that they were spraying earlier. Bludgeoning is, once again, I'm gonna get a paddle of sort. I mean,
Yeah, I would assume so.
concussing is a piggy bank. Which I would also argue that bludgeoning and concussing are kind of the same thing. But all right, fair enough. We need two things. And then when it comes to the hand-to-hand, it's brass knuckles. As well as we also see some like MMA gloves that she never even mentions that are also there. Because Devin puts on like MMA gloves in a second. I don't know where those came from. They're not mentioned.
Yeah. Just one of the things that he brought to Catholic school.
Oh, maybe those were his. Okay, I'm okay with that. Lexi says, "This is insane," and she steps to the side. Good Chucky walks over and says, "Lexi, you look a little nervous. Want something to help with that?" And he offers her a bottle of pills. She takes it and says thanks. Huh. They hear the Colonel coming, so they all arm themselves, including Devin with his MMA gloves that we've never seen before. He walks in and says, "Give me liberty or give me death." His words seem to be kind of slurring a little bit. He then says, "Remember the Alamo." Con! He falls forward, revealing that Andy's scissors are in the back of his head. The Colonel tries to pick himself up, saying, "The horror! The horror!" Before we cut to shots of like war flashbacks once again, a la the Colonel in
Apocalypse Now.
Yeah. It's a fitting way for the Colonel to go out, and an Apocalypse Now reference.
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
Pretty fun. Or at least I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. Andy comes in and says, "You should have cut deeper." Good Chucky says, "Hey, don't I know you from somewhere?" Andy asks, "What the obscenity is this?" And we cut to Sister Ruth, sobbing over Buff Chucky's body, saying, "I will avenge thee, my lord." Dr. Mixter looks on, before getting a call from Ghostface! Wait, no, it's Nika. Well, it's Chucky. Telling her, we'll be there by midnight. Dr. Mixter says, "You need to hurry. There is only one good guy doll left." Chucky says, Yeah, Doc," and hangs up. Chucky tells Glenda, "Pick up the pace, kid. We got places to be." Glenda says, "Rightio, Daddy-o," and steps on it. Kyle falls into Chucky's lap. Chucky laughs and says, "You know, I'm flattered, Kyle, but you're not really my type anymore. You know? Also, what the obscenity did you do to your hair?" Kyle says, "Okay, I refuse to ride another second with him," and punches him, presumably bringing Nika forward. We'd never find out because we head back to Andy, about to attack Good Chucky with the Colonel's machete. Because, yeah, by the way, the Colonel had a machete. He never used it, so I didn't bring it up, but he was holding it the whole time.
Yeah, that's true.
When Jake stops him, Jake says, "Look, I know what this looks like, but he's different, Andy. He saved our lives. He's good." Andy says, "They all need to die. There's no such thing as a good Chucky." And he pushes Jake out of the way and is about to... He grabs Good Chucky, picks him up, as Dr. Mixter comes in and points a gun at Andy and says, "For once, Mr. Barkley, I agree with you." We then cut to outside the door. She locks them in, and has Good Chucky with her. Good Chucky asks, "Who are you? Where are you taking me? Jake needs me." Dr. Mixter says, "Snap out of it, Charlie." Good Chucky says, "My name is Good Chucky, I'll have you know." Dr. Mixter says, "And that is the problem. When I first met you, when you were 7, there was a stream of innocence in you, despite your more interesting qualities. A naivete that wasn't surprising in a child. But frankly, as your therapist, I found it boring. I did my best to stamp it out of you. What those children have done to you, I don't know. But sadly, oh Charlie, I think it's hopeless. Good Chucky asks, what do you mean? She continues, you're going to have to leave this body, Charlie, to make way for the better part of you. The best part. Good Chucky says, leave my body? Where will I go? Dr. Mixter replies, I'm a psychiatrist, not a theologian. That is a question for Father Bryce, as Father Bryce and Sister Catherine come up the stairs. Good Chucky says, help! I'm being kidnapped! Dr. Mixter says, not only do I collect dolls, I dabble in ventriloquism as well. Good Chucky says, she's crazy! Please help me! Sister Catherine is impressed. Father Bryce asks, how many of these things are there? Dr. Mixter says, what do you mean? Good Chucky struggles away, also causing Dr. Mixter to, I assume, it looked like it was like an accidentally shoot Sister Catherine in the arm. Remember? The shot in the arm? I teased that. Did you realize I teased that if you hadn't seen the episode? Maybe. I don't know.
Probably. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. At the same time, Andy breaks open the door. Dr. Mixter knocks Andy down with the gun, but he's able to get up and tackles her down the stairs. She wins the struggle and knocks him out with the gun for good this time. And Good Chucky runs up to the tower. Nadine follows after him. Lexi yells not to, and her, Devin, and Jake chase after her, but they get trapped behind a locked door up to the top of the tower. Back to Father Bryce, who tells Sister Catherine that they should call the Vatican, and Dr. Mixer says, that's a good idea. Good Chucky stands by a window and says, I don't deserve you. I don't deserve any of you. I'm bad, Nadine. I'm bad. Nadine says, no, you're not. You've been baptized in the Lord. It's okay. Your godmother is here to protect you now. Good Chucky says, my fairy godmother? Nadine says, that's right. Lexi breaks the door. They head up the tower. Good Chucky says, hey, you know what fairies like to do, Nadine? Or fairies like to do? Nadine says, what? And goes in for a hug. But, he shoves her out the window, saying they like to fly. To be fair, I will also point out that his voice changes a little bit here. And he says, defenestration. It's always been my favorite MO. Before kind of snapping back into Good Chucky voice, saying, what have I done? And Nadine falls to her death in the arms of a statue that I believe is Saint Mary.
Yeah.
Huh. I just want to start by saying, first off, oops, we forgot to give our thoughts on the last episodes. I'll do that
on the
quick.
one episode.
Yeah, episode 5. It's a good episode. It's a honestly really good episode. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's a good episode.
I also enjoyed episode 5.
And then I got this episode, and my thoughts are, screw you, Don Mancini. How dare you?
Yeah. How could you do that to sweet, sweet Nadine? One of the best characters in the whole show.
Genuinely, yes. This episode is great, and you're allowed to kill off characters and break my heart, but oh man, did that hurt so much. Nadine is such a perfect character. Last episode, final thoughts on that episode that I didn't bring up when I was going through the final thoughts, but she gave that amazing speech that she's Lexi's lifeline at this point, and they just killed her.
Yeah.
Oh, the punch to the gut.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is becoming like Lexi's basically lifeline at this point.
Yeah.
And now she's just gone.
Yep. Just gone.
Yeah.
And like it's here's the thing. I get it. It's fine. I believe actually Bella in like an interview I saw mentioned like, you know, Nadine was just too good to ever survive in this world. And you know, she's not wrong.
Literally too
yeah,
pure
she's a
for
little
this
too
world.
good. She, you know, never knew Chucky really is evil, so she only ever saw like good Chucky. So yeah. But it's genuinely a great episode. Both episodes are great. Honestly, when I watched this episode for like the first time, I mean, to be fair, this was only the first episode that I hadn't seen yet before going into it. But after watching it the first time, I was like, am I just gonna like binge the last two episodes real quick? I need to know what happens next. I didn't, but I really wanted to because But yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah, they killed Nadine. Dang.
They really
That's
did.
it. That's my thoughts. They killed Nadine. Dang. But also, it's great. I love everything about this series. It really is a great series. That's it. That's my thoughts.
Agree. Heart-wrenched, heartbroken about Nadine. But even the death felt like well timed. And I did kind of see it coming. I was like, oh, they're really setting us up to like love Nadine. I bet they're gonna just rip her out of our arms later on. And lo and behold, they did. Does it make it hurt any less? No. But it was good. And I don't know. Hopefully this somehow lends to Lexi's character development even more. I don't know.
Yeah, a little deeper into
It'd be very,
despair.
very interesting how this affects for sure.
Yeah. I look forward to watching the next two episodes and talking about them. Those episodes are Going to the Chapel and Chucky Actually.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a Christmas episode.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's a Love Actually joke, guys.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, if you like this podcast, 5-star review on any podcast app that you use, as long as it's one of the 3 we're on. Also, you know, just leave a comment. Hey, if you are an audio listener and you want to like really like talk to us and don't want to have to leave a review, tell us your thoughts on a podcast. We upload the video podcast. You could literally just come over to comment. I read every comment. I reply to every real comment. We've had like 1 or 2 of those like just promote us kind of comments, and I ignored those. But you know, yeah, I reply to every comment. So you know, for now, I mean, if we ever like grow, don't quote me on this in like 5 years when we're like actually big, and like, why don't you reply anymore? Well, we have too many comments. Maybe someday. Yeah. But right now, I reply to every comment.
Right now,
we get like 1 a month. I may at most, and I reply to it every time. But yeah, if you want to support us directly, also yeah, the YouTube didn't tell you the link that if you want to go over to the youtube.com/@Horror Bois.
There you go.
Yeah, and if you want to support us directly, get some bonus content or this content early or whatever you want to do, you know. If you pay $75, you can pick an episode that's coming up as well as all the other rewards for it. That's our big reward. If you pay $75, you get to pick an episode. It obviously wouldn't be like the next episode because we got to like finish Chucky, plan. But I'd rearrange the schedule for you if you pay me $75.
There you go.
But yeah, I've been Austin. And my heart is broken, and I'm joined by Chris,
whose heart is also broken.
Goodbye, I guess. You guys say goodbye?
Oh, I did say goodbye.
Oh,
but
I must talk over you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Goodbye, everyone.
Yeah, gotta go cry.